Welcome to another episode of Fridays with Dr. Frida. I am right here in the studio together with my amazing husband. This has been long overdue. He is always behind the scenes. Now we decided to bring him here so he can share a little bit of what we do in MJR Wellness. He is the moderator of the WhatsApp chat. He also does everything that I cannot do at the moment. He is there for me every step of the way, and he's also a doctor in his own right. He is a doctor of physical therapy, and he's here to share some of his insights with us. Please, everybody, welcome Jack.
Thank you so much. Amazing introduction. I'm ready to leave. Thank you. So I just wanted to come on here and talk to you and your public audience about health and wellness and everything that means to me personally as a physical therapist. I do home care primarily, so I go to people's homes, the elderly, people that have had post-surgical issues, and a lot of what they tell me is all the time, and we speak about this privately, is that, you know what, I wish I spent more time working on my health when I was younger. And you have no idea, every day I hear that. And you know this, I tell you this.
Yeah. You share with me also a lot how many doctor's visits they have within the week.
Their social schedule is like Monday through Friday. Their social schedule is primary care doctor Monday, Tuesday cardiologist, Wednesday pulmonologist, and so on and so forth. And that's what they look forward to, and that's what they see other friends. Right?
How many medications are they usually on?
Endless. It's like a polypharmacy in their cabinet, and sometimes they don't even remember to take the right ones. And it just, for me, it's foreshadowing of things to come. And I always saw that, I was like, you know, that's one thing that not going to happen in my family. You know, and that's one of the reasons me and you really got on this path, you know, also with our son, Matthew. When we first started out, I would say 8 years ago, right? 7-8 years ago. He's almost 9 right now. I remember, this is actually a good conversation for the men that are listening. I remember you came to me and you know, you were the medical force in our family, because that's what the females do. They take care of the household, the health, and everything else. Right. So I remember you came to me, it's like, hey, listen, Matthew's struggling with asthma, he's wheezing, he's coughing. You took him to the doctor, a prominent pediatrician in Queens, which is very sweet. And she gave him steroids. And, you know, me as a man, I was like, okay, steroids will help him, whatever. And then I was going through my medical courses, you were going through your own medical courses, and we started to learn how steroids can have such a chaotic effect on the developing immune system, right? It was only starting to become 2 years old.
Development in general,
yes. And I remember that someone in our family referred us to a holistic doctor. You went to see her, you did a consult with her, and I remember you came back and you told me, hey, listen, I went to the doctor. She's saying that he has a leaky gut. I remember that specifically, leaky gut. And that term I've never heard before. And we started digging deep into it.
Isn't it interesting how we're two medical professionals and we never heard the term leaky gut before?
Yes, very common. Very common. A lot of our clients are pharmacists, nurse practitioners, physician assistant, nurses.
Doctors.
Some doctors, some dentists also. And it's not readily taught in Western schools.
Not at all.
I didn't know anything about it. So I'm thinking of like an organ that's right, punctured, and everything is coming out of there, the blood or nerves coming out.
It sounds scary too.
Of course, it sounds scary, and it sounds scary to your son. This is your first son. I mean, in our culture, this is our continuation of our name. This is our pride and joy, and you're willing to do anything for him. You know. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, you came to me and said, hey, this is going to cost X amount. And realistically, I was young and old and foolish, and I didn't understand. You know, I remember we had a bit of an argument, and I'd like to apologize to you on the airwaves, that we had this argument and cost. And, you know, I wasn't, was much younger and a little bit rash back then, where...
I think you just didn't understand.
I didn't understand.
You would call it voodoo.
I called it a little bit, right. I called it certain names. And I mean, I kind of also didn't like the practitioner approach of her. She didn't really have a nice bedside manner because when I spoke to her. So that kind of turned me off, you know, because we were both in the medical field, and me personally, and I know you also, we pride ourselves on our bedside approach, of our warm and kind approach of like listening and taking, you know, just a little bit of extra attention to people because we know, like, nowadays people are struggling with so many different things, and it doesn't matter the age. You know, I believe we have clients from early 21 years old to, you know, the lifespan, so 70, 80 years old.
We work with kids.
Kids, right, but we're not
Their parents.
with their parents, and that's more so sensitive. It's a very sensitive topic. So I remember that, and I remember, and I was ignorant. I didn't want to pay this and I pay that, but you know what? You charged through, and we got what he needed.
I told you we're doing it, and that's it.
Yeah, we're doing it. Yeah. So no, because you were right in that regard, and sometimes, you know, we don't. You know, I think over the years I've seen that, you know, your hand in a lot of the things, like your decision making, and sometimes I'm against it, and then I see sometimes it works, and it kind of goes into you know, shalom bayit in my own way. So we did that. He's feeling better, thank God. And then I started researching it on my own while you were going through your dental courses, and I saw how you can do this together with your dental degree. You know. So I remember,
you pushed me on this path a lot. So.
I pushed you. I know it was hard, and there was a lot of you know, I think a lot of people don't see. We get these conversations a lot. You know, what school did you go to? How'd you do this? How'd you land to that? How'd you come out of nowhere? It's never been out of nowhere. You know, between me and you being together 12 years, we have like 3 doctoral degrees together. You know, that's blood, sweat, and tears. That's late night sleeping. That's, you know, putting the kids to bed and researching and learning, reading articles. Working hard and really investing in yourself. I read an amazing quote today earlier that the biggest investment you could ever make is in yourself.
Absolutely.
And on top of in yourself, what is that? Your health. You know, because if your health is not aligned, how can you be the provider, the husband, the mother? You know, how can you be the best version of yourself daily? And modern society expects you to be the best version of yourself daily. All the time. No excuses. And if you're not, you know, you're done for. So that's just a little bit of backstory of that. And so I know it's hard for some men, I would say, to justify, hey, why are we paying this for this? Why are we paying that for that? Why not? Is there information? Is there research that supports this? You know?
Yeah, you know, not really so much research that supports natural medicine because there's really no money in it. Unfortunately, a lot more research is pointed towards, you know, big pharma. I always had this question the minute I was in the medical world, even before I knew anything about natural medicine. When I heard about all of the money and all of the research that's being put towards insulin, I immediately had the question, why are we spending so much towards insulin and there's no research being done about the pancreas? Because the pancreas is what produces insulin, right? And we need to be working on the pancreas, figuring out a way to fix the pancreas so that we don't have to use insulin. But unfortunately, there is no research for that because there's no money in it. If you fix the pancreas, how often is the person going to keep going to the doctor? How often is the prescription going to get refilled?
I hear you.
You know, so it's actually funny. I had a client that came in to me, and she herself is a pharmacist, and she came to me with a baby that her, I believe, 8-month-old baby that was suffering from really bad acid reflux. And she asked me, she said, what can I do to help him? So I gave her a couple of things to help her baby, and one of them being glutamine. Glutamine is an amino acid.
Very powerful.
And, yes, and what the job of glutamine is in the gut, you know, spoken very quickly just for the layman's person to understand, is it rebuilds the gut wall, right? And that's the problem that a lot of people have. It really calms down that acid reflux. It does so much in the gut. And the mom told me that she was scared to give glutamine because there's no research behind it. Meanwhile...
Well, that's her Western medicine training.
Right. Meanwhile, she was giving her baby omeprazole, which she wasn't happy with either. But the omeprazole was prescribed since the baby was 3-4 months old, and she was giving her baby omeprazole. And then when you look and see the amount of side effects omeprazole has, you know, on the baby, it's about 30 different side effects. So side effects of possible infection, you know, lowers the HCl in the gut, and so in the stomach. So then, you know, there's possibility of getting, multiple infections, diseases, and everything like that. Kills the immune system. It does so much in the gut that it just destroys the body, but people are okay with giving it as opposed to giving an amino acid, which is actually also coming out of the breast milk itself for the baby from the mom.
So this omeprazole is a steroid?
No, it's not a steroid. Omeprazole is a medication that is specifically for the gut, for acid reflux.
This is what like a common standard care that a lot of doctors prescribe.
Yes, for acid reflux it is.
So just to piggyback on what you're saying, I use the glutamine powder as well. So
One of your favorite products.
It's
I
one
can already get you to stop using it.
It's one of my favorite parts. So I use it. So it definitely helps me with everything you mentioned, like rebuilding the wall. So I also use it at night.
How peaceful is your sleep?
Yes, it's peaceful, and I also use it at night before I go to sleep to just decrease any digestive competition. Right. So I remember we went to that course and we learned about this, that whatever you were eating, sometimes maybe a late meal or whatever, helps break down everything while you're sleeping. Hence the peaceful night's sleep, and helps ease your bowel movement in the morning or throughout the day.
Yeah. What I really don't understand, why our gastroenterologists are not giving these 3 things that I'm going to name right now: the glutamine, colostrum, and some great probiotic. It can cure almost anything. I mean, listen, you have to get an amazing product. Don't get me wrong. You can't just purchase anything that's on the market. Obviously, not just everything's going to help you, but if they were just focused on those 3 items and giving it to their patients instead of giving them a medication right away, do you know how many healed people we would have in this world? I mean, everything stems from the gut,
Gut is like a brain.
Yeah, and unfortunately, gastroenterologists don't even know about these things. I have so many young kids that come to me and that their parents are telling me that they're put on this medication. They're, scheduled for a colonoscopy. They're scheduled for an endoscopy. They're scheduled for an MRI because the child has unstoppable diarrhea or the child is screaming of stomach pains at night. There's just so many, or vomiting every morning from acid reflux. I give them these 3 items. I'm even getting chills as I'm speaking about it,
Yeah, we have a lot of testimonials on Google reviews regarding these items, yeah.
I give them these 3 items, and the change it makes in these children's lives. I had one really good friend. She was telling me how bad her child was suffering for 2 years, and she went to, I think, 5 different gastroenterologists.
I recently visited this friend yesterday.
Yes. So she was telling me how her child was suffering so bad and nobody could help. Right? And I gave her these 3 items, and her child wrote her on Mother's Day, and she actually wrote a review about it. He wrote her on Mother's Day, "Thank you, Mommy, for buying me the vitamins that help my stomach, that I have no more pain in my stomach." And that really brought tears to my eyes. A lot of different things do. Especially, just having a baby, I do get really emotional. But when these things happen, I mean, these poor kids are suffering, and truthfully, it pisses me off,
Yeah. So I went to see her yesterday. I went to deliver some products to her. I believe for her mother. She's got our whole family. It's like a son and referred to, and had a wonderful conversation. Me and her were sitting like this across from each other. And she said, I get so many calls about you guys, about what you're doing. You guys are helping the community in different ways. I said, okay, great. Thank you so much. And she did mention her son. She's like, I went to so many different doctors or whatever the story was, and nobody was able to help. Nobody was able to help. Insurance, copays, all this stuff. You pumped my son full of all these medications, and it was getting worse, until I was like, let me give Dr. Frida a try. Let me give MJR Wellness a try. And because of that connection that we had, I remember she told me about the Mother's Day card, and it was recently, like about a few weeks ago. She's like, listen, I shared the story with everyone that comes my way, and I make it known to them, like, listen, it doesn't matter what certain doctors say to you. If it's not working, you have to try something else. You have to go in a different direction, And realistically, okay, we are not for everyone, but
no, we're for results.
Yeah, we love, like me personally, I like to do things for results. That's why me and you are working a lot closer now, because I saw that that we could really take this
Make an
mainstream,
impact.
make an impact, take a mainstream, and help. You know, me, I'm very big on service. You know, especially medical providers. You know, Hippocratic Oath. What does it say? Do no harm. You know, so I always think about service. I always think about value. And this conversation I have with her, because she's trying to, in a way, she's trying to like go into the content creation. And as me and her were talking, she said, "Oh, you know, I don't have any content." I was writing down a list. I was like things she was saying. You know, she has a big emunah, faith. She had, you know, she wants to branch out in her field. You know, she's a lawyer. She wants to branch out in her field of law. I was writing down so many things, and you know, I was like, "Hey, here you go. Here's a list." She's like, "What is this list?" I was like, "I was writing 5 to 10 different things you could do content on today." She's like, "Oh my God, really?" I was like, "Yeah, do it here. Try it as an exercise." You know, because you want to develop an organic, authentic following,
Right.
and not just be this like willy-nilly person that's like, "Oh, okay, I'm randomly doing," you know. So I agree with you. I agree with helping. I agree in creating value. I'm so big on, you know what? Hey, I want to provide you guys so much value before you even come to us. I want you to come to us with a clear mind and a clear soul of like, "Hey, I heard from my mother, my aunt." How many of those phone calls do you get? "I heard from my mother and auntie, we're able to help her. Can you please help me?"
Yeah, and that value you're speaking about, that's why, you know, when we spoke about it, we decided to do that free 15-minute consultation, which almost always goes into 30, 40 minutes.
And people don't see that. People don't see that you could get a provider on a phone call. How many times, or how long does it take to get your whatever PCP doctor? You got to talk to the secretary. You got to wait a week.
Just that night, when was it? Saturday night. So we keep the Sabbath, Shabbat, right?
Yes.
And we got a call. I decided I was going to go to sleep early that day. I remember I told you I'm not answering any phone calls, and you bring my phone to me. You're like, "Please answer this. A mother is suffering. Her child has a really bad ear infection, pus is coming out. They really need your help." And I said, "Oh my God, why are you doing this to me?" Because I knew that the minute I get on my phone, it's game over. I'm going to be on my phone.
That's not about so.
No, but you know what I mean.
No, I know. Like you're gonna be in it because. You're going to be in it because you're very purpose driven. You know, we had this conversation the other day that there was. I mean, I don't want to get into the story but some people have a calling, you know, and you have a calling to help, and you have a calling to purpose, and it's hard to find this calling and purpose. Sometimes people never find it. Sometimes they find it after they're 70, 80. Oh, you know, I was called to help X, Y, and Z. But this is what I saw. This is why I kind of push you the way I push you behind the scenes. And
so back to that quick story. She said her child had an ear infection.
Okay.
And I don't know if you remember, but it was already like 10:15 p.m. 10:20.
Yeah.
And we told her she can come through and pick up the eardrops that I was going to give to her.
Around 11, right?
It's by 11. And she did. And she came, and I called her yesterday to confirm with her that her baby was doing better. And she said that, yes, he's better. There's no more fever. There's no more pus coming out of the ear. So, I mean, just things like that, you know, I think that bring a lot of value to allow people to feel better almost instantly.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more of these eardrops for those who may not know.
So these eardrops are really what I like to say magical. They are my own proprietary blend, and their main ingredient is wormwood. And these eardrops, they act so quickly. A lot of people, when I offer these eardrops to them, they say, "Oh, I'm going to use garlic, or I'm going to use some mullein," and then they end up coming to me anyways because it's just not strong enough. A lot of times what people don't understand is that ear infections are not always bacterial. They could be fungal as well. And the problem is that doctors always prescribe antibiotic for something, for an ear infection.
Can we blame the regular doctor if that's what's in their utility belt? You know,
no, exactly. It's their tools. It's what they have.
Right. So a lot of people that I see as clients is like, you know, if you come to me as a physical therapist, I'm gonna think of the physical therapy approach as like, hey, stretch that muscle, or hey, let's do an active activity exercise, or manipulate a joint manipulation, or mobilize joints. And I always tell people, like, if you go to a surgeon, they're gonna wanna cut.
Yes.
If you go to a primary care doctor, they're gonna give you what's in
their arsenal.
Yes, I like to call that like the Batman utility belt. They're gonna give you this medication, this antibiotic, or this antiviral, and this is why different people that I interact with say, listen, go to your doctors if you do what you want. But I was like, we have this wellness practice that we operate, and my wife, she is well versed in so many different things. I think a lot of people are lost upon certain things that we do, and it's very extensive, such as parasitic detox, viral detox, allergy detox, drainage therapy for the body, you name it.
Yeah, lymphatic drainage, full body drainage, kidney support. I mean, we work with the entire body. It's not, the thing is, a lot of people really don't understand, and they ask me, how can you give me something? How can you recommend something without, being able to even, for example, see my child, right? If you tell me your child has consistent ear infections, as this woman did, I did give her the eardrops, but the eardrops only go so far, right? This is more of a deeper issue, like a low immune system, and it needs to be drained from the sinuses. That's where she said, he's always congested. That's where it's coming from.
So there's a deeper root cause.
Right. So she asks me, and this child was evaluated by his pediatrician. I will never take that away from, pediatricians, primary care physicians. I think people should be going to them. I think that, a medical doctor should not ever be substituted, of course. However, the baby did get diagnosed by his pediatrician with an ear infection, and this ear infection has been consistent, and this baby also has, baby asthma, and is on all these different steroids and albuterol. So I offered her a few things in her protocol. I recommended a few things, and she was just very confused. She said, how do you know what my baby needs? Well, it's very simple, truthfully, because the body works in one way, right? And if the immune system is low and the child in all other ways is healthy, and the child is having certain issues with his ear, and there's constantly sinus congestion, that tells me that we need to fix his gut. We need to drain out his sinuses.
Back to the gut.
Yeah, back to the gut, We need to fix his gut. We need to boost his immune system. We need to drain out his sinuses. We need to, in general, drain out his whole lymphatic system, right? We need to give him that kidney support, because if the kidneys are, if the body is holding on to all of this, that means there's not enough in the filtration system. Give him a little bit of liver support. And it's that simple. And the body goes back into the right place.
Right. So, so this is interesting, because when you talk to a parent that's coming to you, I imagine you get a lot of you give them this information, and like a red flag goes in their head, like, well, why didn't my doctor tell me all this?
A lot of times I get that.
Right. So how do you handle that, and how do you make them understand that, hey, listen, this is what my field of study is. This is what I deal with consistently. This is what's going to help you.
I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Medical doctors are not at fault for this. This is what they're taught in school. They're not taught these things in school. And a lot of what we're taught, and also we consistently self-educate. Like, I'm constantly working on myself, constantly learning these things, constantly searching different products and understanding what they're for, looking at trying to understand them clinically, what I can use them for, what they can be, how they can serve me. I guess because of my education, I can really understand how I can apply this product and how I can use it and how I can help somebody. But, doctors, they just don't, first of all, they don't have the tools. And second of all, they don't have the time. They don't have the time. And if you ask me, how do I have the time? It's because I have a whole team behind me, I don't do things on my own. You're always helping me. I have somebody doing, I don't do my social media content. I have somebody doing that. I have a team helping me. I have my assistant, I have my VA. It's not like I'm just doing everything on my own. And also because I am, more of in a niche, category, I don't see a crazy amount of patients. I mitigate the volume, right? But I give them the quality.
Yeah, I 100% believe over quality over quantity. And this is something that I think it's shifting in the medical landscape. A lot of people are, as a lot of people know, we do not accept insurance of any kind, because insurance does not cover holistic natural remedies.
Yeah.
And right. I think it's, I have a lot of conversations with different people, the changing the mindset and being a disruptor in the field, if you will, in this way is going to take some getting used to for a lot of people. But nevertheless, the results speak for themselves. And one thing I really tell people, even men I have this conversation with, I said, listen, one of the best things that you could do for your family is ensure their health for now and for future to come.
Yeah.
Because I remember and I kind of frame it in a way of like, do you like arguing with your wife? Like, no, I don't. Why? I was like, imagine one of your kids gets sick, right? Imagine one of your kids gets sick. There's always that conversation of, hey, who's going to stay home with the kid? Okay. And if, like, let's say both parents are working and they need to work and they need to go out in the field and do whatever they need to do, they call a mother-in-law a babysitter last minute. I was like, imagine you take that out of the equation and you have something in your house to boost their immune system, to give them like a quick vitamin D spray, to give them B12 boost that they maybe.
How many times have the kids woken up and told me that they're coming down with something?
Not even the kids, myself.
And yourself, and I've given them this, and it's just saved us a whole few weeks, because if you think about it, one kid gets something and that's about 2-3 days, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's a domino effect. When you're in a big family, one person gets better, the next person gets sick, and then the next person gets better. It's a consistent thing. But with this immunoaid, and that's why, I created it. You remember how long it took me to formulate this proprietary formula?
Yeah, I was there with you, researching and going back and forth. And being the sample tester, So before a lot of people, it was even we brought this to market, we brought this to people. I was testing different things. I was the first guinea pig, if you will.
Yeah, no, I think our whole family was, giving it to our parents, giving it to our kids.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Giving it to our siblings. I think that made a big difference in understanding what helps and how it helps. And it makes such a big difference. A lot of people worry about cost, but what does it cost somebody to lose days of work? What does it cost people to lose days of peace in their mind, right? That peace of mind. It costs so much stress. What does it cost a person to stress about their child being sick consistently? I had a mom that came to me. She actually came to me a few months back, and I gave her a free consult. Mm-hmm. And you're really at fault for this, because I usually only give one free consult, but sometimes you forget who I gave a free consult to, and you invite them again once they ask to give them a free consultation.
You know what I would say about that? I would say that people are very, they're not good at making quick decisions, fast decisions. Some are not. And the only thing I would say is there are some people that need that, that old school approach. They need face time with a provider before they pull the trigger, if you will. It's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go with you. I see it in your eyes. You're a warm, presentable person. And they want that one-on-one. So I would say that's it's also defining factors. You can't see everyone, obviously. You can't give everyone your time. But there are some people that are just kind of like, they're ready to do it, but they just want they need that hand-holding. And that's something that I don't think we should completely get away from, because even though everything is going towards telemedicine, virtual consults, looking at your provider on a screen, there is that difference of, like me and you right now, we're talking, we're communicating, we're sharing an energy space, we're vibrating at a different level. And some people need that. And some people need that, hey, wow, she understands me, she feels me, she looked into my eyes, she held my hand, and she told me everything's going to be okay. And that belief, right, the faith of that transfers to the person she wants to heal, or transfers to herself, that energy field you give to them.
Right. So
that's my reasoning behind that.
She came to me initially and we spoke. She told me that her child had been suffering with strep. Mm. And over, the child has been getting strep consistently, and she's been giving him a lot of antibiotic. Mm. And then she finally came back. She was not ready. She said that it was too expensive for her. And then she came back to me.
So how long ago did you first speak to her?
I would say maybe 3-4 months ago.
3-4 months ago.
3 months, I would say, a good 3 months.
So this is another thing that you and I talk about, that I guess repeated exposures. A lot of people need to see if it works, hear from other people, right, see it on different platforms, and then they come, which is fine. I understand that.
So She came, she was not ready to purchase, she was not ready to take my recommendations, and then she came a second time, and I gave her everything for the strep. She'd given her child antibiotic multiple times since that time. It's much easier to give something that's prescribed and has a copay, or like $1, as opposed to something that you have to pay for out of pocket. So she ended up getting this for her child finally, and 2 days later, and maybe even 3 days later, she writes a whole review without even me knowing on our chat, saying how incredible it is that her child is better with no antibiotic. The strep is finally gone, and that the child feels so much better.
I'm sure she's getting right now bombarded from other
moms.
So some people that I deliver our products to, I like to take the time and sit and explain to them what it's about and kind of just like get an idea of who they are. This is my home care background with PT, just having that conversation. And I'll sit with some people.
This is what I mean when I say you're behind the scenes.
No. I sit with some people and I talk to them. And you know what's interesting? Like a little factoid that people may not know. The people that are really most interested in improving their health are the elderly. Like the over, how many clients do you have?
Understand.
Over 50. Yeah, over 50. And it's kind of like a bit of a paradox to me, because the younger generation, you would think like, hey, health, wellness.
Take their health for granted. They just don't understand.
100%. I was going to say 100%. And I went to Forest Hills. I went to this lady. She was 72, 73. I was sitting down with her husband was there. And the funniest story she told me, I was like, I'm not going to say her name. I was like, oh, Alex here. I was like, how'd you hear about us? How'd you connect with us? She's like, you won't believe it. She's like, for different friends of mine over the period of a couple of months would add me to the WhatsApp chat. I would come out. They would add me again. I would come out like 10 times. And then her husband, out of nowhere, he's like, listen, maybe it's meant to be. Maybe it's a sign from above that you should be in the set and you should reach out to this provider and see what she's about. And hence the story. I believe her story was a bit, she was going through chemotherapy. She was going through, and she said that the doctor that she went to either misdiagnosed her or gave her the wrong formula or gave her the wrong chemotherapy treatment, and she was done. She was done with it. So I sat with her. I spoke to her. I was there for like half an hour. Usually like a delivery would be like 5-10 minutes. I was there with her half an hour. I was talking to her, and I gave her, just like me and you are talking right now. I don't know her from a hole in the world, nor does she know me. But she told me, she's like, listen, your group, what you guys are doing is what's needed and what's missing in this world. In this world. You
never told me this.
Because we're so busy. I usually give you a snapshot. She was like, what's missing in this world? She's like, I'm going to Israel next week. She was going to Israel just to travel, see some family. She said, I'm going to add a lot of my Israeli family and all that stuff. I said, please, by all means, no problem. You can add them. We love to share content. We love to interact with people. We love to help. And I think there's a lot of people that don't see behind the scenes how many conversations we're having with people that like text it privately. They think it's like a run of the mill. Oh, it's a WhatsApp group. You post some information here, post some information there. But a lot of
that's only 20% of everything.
No, that's like a lot of information that gets posted. We get a DM, you or myself, like, hey, tell me about how to decrease my cortisol levels. Hey, how do I improve my eating habits? Hey, how do I heal? You posted something about parasites. How can you help me with this? And then we go into the question of like, oh, how do you know? Like some recently a client that sometimes they privately message me. It's like, hey, I want a parasite disease. I'm like, how do you know you have parasites? She's like, I have all these 20 symptoms you mentioned. I have parasites. I said, okay. I was like, listen, don't overdo it. I said, let me schedule a consult with you, and you guys can have that conversation and, possibly do some blood work, and we take it from there. She's like, okay, thank you so much. Thank you for directing me in the right way. And there's obviously different conversations that we can't always have it, but some things you say, and just the people listening out there, we do take our time with a lot of people, and there's obviously those other people that are just will ask 1,000 questions and not follow up with anything, and then I wonder, like, okay, what would be the point of that? You know, if you ask, if you want to know, if you genuinely want to help and heal yourself, try something, follow through. You know, try maybe like a small protocol.
I think it's just there's a lot of skepticism in natural health. You know.
Skepticism at all. Do you have any idea how much I've dealt with as a physical therapist, and that they tell me that, oh, what can you do for me? Or how can you help me? How can you fix this? How can you fix that? And I think one line I've always told everyone is that, listen, I'm not the best physical therapist in the world, you know, but there are certain things that I'm really good at, and I can really do and change your life, change the way you move, feel, interact. And a lot of things I would say, I was like, this is one thing I caught early on in practice, and I'm sure you caught also. People talk very, very negatively to themselves, and people are big downers. And I was like, if you start with that, how do you think your body's going to react? I was like, your body is your engine. Your body is your one vehicle that you have in life. So you talk negatively to it. You put the wrong type of fuel in it, like junk food. You abuse it. You don't get that adequate sleep that you need. You flare up in anger. Your cortisol shoots up, and your adrenal glands, the small walnut shaped organs
above the
kidneys. I was like, you wonder why, and then your blood cells come out like this. And I always ask, I was like, anything going on in your life? Any stress? Anything this? No, I'm okay, I'm fine. And I'm like, well, if I have to think about it, there's X, Y, and Z going on. I said, listen, we all have our stress in life, and believe me, we don't obviously talk about all the things that we got going on in life, but you have to look at these things. You have to look at these things as a disruptor in your body. And I always say, I was like, listen. And I always ask people, I was like, you guys drive? I was like, yes. I was like, how do you treat your car? You got a car wash, take care of it, put the nice gas in it, you make sure that you clean up after the kids. You got the small little vacuum in the car, you clean up right after the kids. It's like, how do you treat your body? How do you treat your body? Do you go to the gym? Do you do body weight activities? Do you mindful of what you eat? Are you properly digesting, or are you eating with the phone? You ever catch the people that are at the dinner table, they're scrolling through the phone, and they're just scarfing up what you're doing? I was like, is your mind and body connecting to the food that you're digesting? And I always, since I get into it with the kids, I was like, guys, we're sitting right now, and we have a rule. Yeah, we have a rule in our house. There is no phone on the table, no matter any time we eat ever. None of that stuff, even when we go out, And, sometimes, Papa, give me the phone. Papa, give me this. I want to play. I said, listen, these are my rules. This is what's going to be. It's like, don't lose that. And, everyone that's listening, don't lose that connection with your kids, and make sure you don't lose them to, like, these electronic devices. Sometimes it's inevitable, and I hear that. But at the dinner table, no. And that comes with the family, and that comes with the parents.
I also think at the dinner table, but also when people are outside, I want to say this from a health perspective, I see people strolling with their kids, and the kid is on the phone. That's so bad
to the young developing mind.
Yeah, for the young developing mind, because the child needs to be present. The child needs to see nature. The child needs to breathe in that fresh air. And even though it's easier for us as parents, right? Give him the phone, give him the iPad. He doesn't bother me. He's just sitting there doing his own thing, and I'm able to stroll quietly while my child's on the phone. I wouldn't say even the amount of negativity it has for the eyesight, right? Giving your child that phone, but also just for them not to be present in the world around us. We, at this day, in this age, right, don't have enough time outside. Kids back in the day used to play outside. Nowadays, kids are not playing outside. They sit inside the house. So if you're taking your child out, just let them, even though there's bored or they don't want to, they want the electronic because that's something that they are used to. Try not to give it to them anyways. Try to let them, like you said, run wild, be a kid, really enjoy the outdoors, because that energy is really what's feeding their cells. We were speaking about the vital force, and the vital force, that healing energy, we really get it a lot from nature.
100%.
We really get it a lot from the trees. We get it from the air. We get it from, even you see a bird, if you see a bird on the ground and you see it like singing or something, you get that energy from that nature, that God-given nature that's created.
Remember that I don't know how long ago was it when I introduced grounding into the family. We were walking in the Cunningham Park,
Right.
And it was beautiful summer, a year ago, 2 years ago, I believe. And we're walking, and I was like, guys, let's go sit down on the grass. I sit down. I was like, guys, take off your shoes. It's like, okay, why? Take off your shoes. I was like, take off your socks. So I did it first. And I remember you were a little bit like against it because of the ticks, I believe. You said ticks or worms or whatever.
Fear of ticks in the grass.
So I never even thought about that. So I think if you introduce fears into the kids, they will have that forever. But if you introduce nature into the kids, they will also love you for that. So I remember we took the shoes off, the socks, and we put our feet connected to the earth. And I always tell people that, and I don't care how manly you are, I don't care what position you are in life, how wealthy you are, that feeling, you cannot buy that feeling when you dig deep into the grass and you're in a way your soul connects to the earth's energy, like the tectonic plates, the shift that you feel, and you feel the earth beating if you connect with that. And the sun's energy that you receive, and on both ways, in both directions, and you become I forgot what the name of that is. There's a specific name for it, but you become like that rod, the lightning rod.
Right.
That.
Remember that day that we were taking a walk, and I looked at that beautiful grass, and I said, I just want to lay in there, and then you forced me to lay down. Oh my God, it was just.
Oh, that was the other side of Cunningham Park in the morning.
Yeah.
Let's just do it now. Do it now. Do it now. Do it now. Let's do it now and get out of the way.
It was 5 minutes, but I feel that recharge that we got, right?
So the sun is a battery. This is
the ground too.
Yeah, the ground also, but getting it from both ways. And you wonder why. Sometimes remember we used to drive around. I was like, yo, why is people? We were grinding and working. I was like, yo, why is nobody doing anything? Why is nobody at work? And sometimes, when you do have that kind of I don't say luxury, but that flexibility in schedule, and maybe to walk down the pathway and see it, and to feel it, to absorb it, you look at it differently. In New York, we have that hustle and bustle. We're both entrepreneurs. Nobody sees what we do behind the scenes of how we building a brand and building a relationship. But you have to take the time to be one with nature. You have to smell the roses, because what is life for? Like, realistically, what is life for? And it goes like this in seconds. And I infuse that into the kids. And I got you on that train also. Remember the groundings? I think I really started to love that.
No, I do love it. So I want to ask you to take a shot of Immunoaid with me.
Anytime, let's do it. We have the cups here? Yeah?
Yeah. Use cups.
Yeah, let me shake it. So before you take this, you have to shake it well, right? Because everything,
yeah.
Everything, I guess, it gets stuck up because it's herbal.
Yeah, there's a lot of ingredients in there. We want to make sure we get all the goodness.
So what gives it this green color?
It's the chlorophyll inside there.
Chlorophyll. Also, you
Give
can.
me half of that.
Sure. I always take the full cup. Be careful not to stain yourself.
So I generally like to dilute it with water, but since we're here today, we'll just drink it like this.
L'chaim?
Guys, before we take the shot, hold on a second. This drink right here, this Immunoaid, it has saved so many people. It has helped so many people. It personally helped my entire family. My son was healed from asthma because of this Immunoaid. And I actually will share a story with you right after we take this about a mom that came to me in complete distress. And it just made me so happy that I was able to help her. So now.
L'chaim. There's a little kick.
Yeah. Don't mind our green teeth after this.
Amazing.
So, back to that story.
How long ago was this?
I would say a few months now, maybe 3-4 months.
Mm-hmm.
The mom contacted me. She was actually one of our old neighbors.
Oh, I remember the story. This is a touching story.
The mom contacted me, and she told me that her son had been diagnosed with RSV.
And for those people that may not know what it is.
Respiratory syncytial virus. And this virus it's it's really the worst, especially attacking little infants. They end up in hospitals, and that's exactly what happened with this child.
No, this RSV, it's like for the whole year that people can get it, or specific seasons?
I mean, usually people get it more so, I would say, in the winter.
Winter time? Okay.
Yeah, the winter time is the worst. That time when it's like that cold time.
Right.
So the mom came to me and she asked me, she said, what can I do? My child was in the hospital for this amount of days. He was given some IV fluids. He was given some, I believe, antibiotic through the IV. And her child had a clot in his radial artery, which would not allow any of his blood to go through into his hand.
How old is the child?
If I'm not mistaken, it's been a little while, about 8 months, I believe.
8 months.
6 months to 8 months, in that range right there.
So not walking, just beginning crawling.
This is,
That's a developmental stage.
Yeah, this baby was under steroids. This baby was under all these different treatments to be able to survive this virus. And the mom asked me, she said, what can I do? He has this clot in his radial artery. And they are saying that they want to put him on blood thinners. But before that, they said, let's just maybe see what happens. Right? So...
Which is never a good idea.
Right. So they released him to his house, to his home. She said his arm was not... You could see that there was no blood in his hand, very little.
Non-functional, not moving.
Yeah. And I gave her the immunoid. She said, what is this? She was not sure. She decided to trust me. I gave her the immunoid, which she gave her child. And she gave it to him for a little while, and then they went to do a sonogram. And the ultrasound tech that did the sonogram at that moment was in shock because the clot was almost completely dissolved, and there was blood going through into his hand. And this was maybe just a week later. And he asked her, said, what are you doing? Are you giving him blood thinner? She said, no, I'm not. Yes. And then she went back a couple of weeks later after that, and the blood clot was completely gone.
That's so amazing, as a mother and father to hear that.
Yeah, she was really happy. The things that this immunoid did in the body. So a lot of people think, like, why would I take that over, let's say, just taking some Mulin, or just taking some echinacea, or just taking some, vitamin C to boost my immune system. But the difference with this, it's formulated directly in a way that it cleanses the liver, it cleanses the blood, it cleanses the whole lymphatic system. It's antiviral, it's also antibacterial. It boosts the immune system like crazy. Any kind of virus that's in the body that just came into the body will die instantly. Like, that is how strong it is. And when you go to the doctor with something like COVID or flu and they have nothing to give you, Tamiflu, but let's face it, Tamiflu a lot of times makes things a lot worse than better. This right here, it helps so much with these viruses. The virus, you won't even know if you are consistently taking this in your home. If you're consistently giving it to your kids, you won't even know that your kid had something like COVID, that your kid had something like the flu or anything, even the RSV. If you give it to your child right away, I started giving it to our baby when he was 2 months old. I remember you laid him down, you put a syringe. Yeah, I remember the kids, I don't know, came home one day, maybe had like a little bit of like a
sniffle or
something. I gave them immunoid, but before I gave them whatever, I think they gave something to the baby. Because, babies grasping so quickly. I gave it to him right away, and there was, thank God, absolutely no sign of anything. There was no coughing, no nothing. And, I just feel like it's such a blessing to have in the home. And this is why I want to really put into every home. And I really appreciate that you are, on this path with me, helping me. Because you see my vision with me.
No, that, and I see it works. I actually take this daily. And especially when I have like a sniffle with anything like that. The other day I had it because it's right now it's starting. And I remember when we were doing with the kids, we would line up the kids and I would give them the vitamins, and they
feel like champs.
And they did, but initially, so this is actually a really good thing I want to tell parents: don't give up. You know, because sometimes you introduce a new kind of herbal remedy to the kids, it can have like a bit of a taste, but you can mix it with we give the full product to clients because we want them to have the full product, and sometimes I mix it with a little bit of water, right?
And water, honey, maple syrup, whatever it is.
Yeah, but until they get used to it, and then what do the kids do? They line up, 1, 2, 3. We should make a video about
Remember
that.
how I used to fight with Matthew to take it?
Yeah,
Over a bathtub. I used to, because it's green, I would get everything so dirty. So I used to hold him over our bathtub, and I used to give it to him in the bathtub, and then he would spit it out, and I would give it to him again. And after about 3 to 4 days of doing this, he was like, she's not messing with me. I just have to drink this,
Yeah, I would say to parents, like, listen, you are the parent. Don't let your kid dictate what they need and don't need.
Yeah, a lot of parents, they say, oh my God, my kid's not letting me, he's so difficult, my child. Yeah, they don't want to give it to their child because they think that, oh, my child is crying, my child doesn't like it, my child doesn't like the taste. But you are doing your child good. This is a benefit to your kid. Who cares if he cries for 1 minute if he's going to feel amazing? If my child, like the baby was crying when I gave it to him the first couple of times, and I understood, like, yeah, of course it doesn't make you feel good that your child is crying, but I understood that I have to give it to him because he's going to feel better and he's not going to come up with anything that's going to screw up his immune system.
One thing I use for the kids, and this is why I'm directing my message to a lot of fathers out there. I know a lot of mothers come to see you, and that's your target, mainly your demographic, because they're on the front line of the healthcare for the family. But I would just kind of tell the fathers to join in with the mothers. Like, they're going out there, they're doing all this research, they're having a conversation with you, they're bringing the products back home, and it's up to the fathers to, like, hey, listen, mom went to do the work, and like support. Mom went to do the work. Mom spoke to this doctor. She's saying this is gonna help. You guys better take this, And there's no or else. It's like, or else I'm gonna. And I used to do it with the kids. Remember, I was like, listen, I'm not taking you to soccer practice. I'm not taking you to karate. I was like, you're gonna do this first. You're gonna be the best version of yourself. You're gonna be the healthiest version of yourself. So you can do this forever, continually, and not just like seasonally.
What I also hear a lot is parents that do go through that part, like the hard part where they force their kids.
They get past that threshold, yeah.
They get past it. The kids ask for it themselves
because of how much. Yes, they feel good. They feel amazing. Perform better. There's no brain fog. They're able to function better in school. They're able to be with their friends and form sentences together easier. And even I remember recently this lady reached out to us, and she's like, "Hey, I'm sending you this person because her kid's not focusing, and whatever you gave me, it's for my kids to focus. You should give to her." And we always say, "Listen, every person that comes to our door is individualized care. There's no one size fits all." That's why it's so interesting when you say the doctors, they come in, it's like, okay, take this antibiotic. When all of us are different, take this antibiotic that I know is an antibiotic that I learned about in med school that may or may not help you. And it's interesting some of the people that say, hey, and I see the differences. You see it also that the insurance the people that take the insurance route, they don't really care. Like, they don't really ask if it's going to help or not. But the people that pay, they want results, and I understand that. But can we adequately always, everyone is different. Can we adequately always say, oh, this is definitely going to help you, like ethically as providers?
My favorite question is, are you giving me a guarantee that this is going to help me? Because when people pay out of their pocket, they start asking different questions.
Yeah,
right?
I understand that. I understand that
I
understand that from a point of view as like I'm a consumer. We're all consumers of everything.
Right.
But there's really no guarantee that
you can ethically give a guarantee for something that, like, first of all, it's not ethical of me as a provider to do that, right? As a practitioner. And not only that, every person's body is different. So, yes, in my mind, this will work for you, but first of all, some people take it and they're not consistent with it.
Right. And
or they don't follow the right diet,
exactly.
Right? Or they're not really compliant with certain things that I ask them to do. So how can I really guarantee how they're going to feel?
I think there was a person you mentioned who was, I think you get a lot of young mothers who are, there's no manual of how to raise a baby. You could listen to your mom, your grandmother, whatever, but in modern day, there's really no manual of how, because you you and the father also. I remember you told me one story where someone came to you, was it for an allergy detox for their baby? And they're going through something, and everyone's quick to point the finger at the provider, right? She's like, hey, whatever you gave me doesn't work. And I think you quickly schedule a call with her and say, hey, let's have a conversation about what's going on. And was it a dairy issue? Remind me, what was it?
It was dairy.
So what was the context of that
The
conversation?
mom had started to feed her child yogurt.
And she was allergic to
The
dairy.
child was allergic to dairy, and she was saying how the stuff that I was giving her was not helping to support her eczema. Meanwhile, she was feeding the child yogurt because she thought that the child would be okay.
Yeah. So you see, that's an interesting story because when you buy something and people quickly point to figures like, yo, your stuff doesn't working. But, I take the time to explain to people something. I was like, listen, I'm not here holding your hand daily about what you're eating, not eating, how you're sleeping, how you're thinking, because thoughts become things. If you also just like talk to yourself, hey, I'm getting better, I'm healing well, right? Instead of, oh, I'm feeling bad. No, I'm healing well. I'm doing well. I'm taking the right steps to my health. How many times do we like train the kids? And they like to get out of school, Papa, I'm coughing, I'm this, I'm that. I was like, no, you're healing well. I was like, if you don't want to go to school, then you're going to go to work with me. I was like, which one you want to do? I said, yeah, I think I'm going to go to school. I was like, okay, good.
And sometimes they just stay because they just want the vitamins.
Yeah. There's also like a small little component that I think the parents are not, when they bring the kids, they're not seeing that you could give them all the organic, healthy snacks in the world, but you have to kind of be on top of what they eat in school. I recently did a field trip. Remember with Josh? He guilted me into a field trip. Like for years, like, Dad, you never come on a field trip with me. You never did this. You never did that. And I took that day off. I said, okay, listen, I'll be the alternate parent. And she called me. She's like, listen, you're the ultimate parent. Come on the field trip. So I went. And I packed them a few. I think you packed them a few stuff to take over there. So I went there and I saw firsthand how some parents. And I'm not knocking them. This is not a knock to parents, but I saw some parents that, like put the kids' food in like aluminum pan, aluminum foil from last night, the night before, maybe give them some dairy sandwiches or this. But there are also the health conscious parents where they give the kids excessive amount of vegetables like carrots and I'm very perceptive. I see all these things, and I had like the sanitizer in my car, and I remember you always tell me, yo, take some sanitizer. So I had it in my pocket. And I'm here with a group of 6-7 kids that I don't know a hole in the wall from, because they assign you 6-7 kids. And I talked to them. I was like, hey guys, who prepares your stuff? Who did this, who did that? I was like, do you guys floss at home? Do you guys brush your teeth at home? Like basic hygiene. And it's so interesting how sometimes we forget to have this conversation with our kids because they're coming up. And you know how big I am on that. Like whatever I do, I want my kids to do. Like I'll do push-ups with them in the living room. I'll do blind planks. I'll do my squats right in front of them, because if they don't see you do it, they will never do it. If they don't see a healthy type of activity that the father or mother does, if they don't see how we, put the phones to the side and, hey, it's dinner time, it's communication time, these healthy habits, if they don't see you do it, they won't do it. And they will pick up what you're doing. Like maybe the unhealthy habits, maybe if someone's a smoker, someone's not eating right, someone's like sneaking cola or Pepsi in the corner. If you're kind of like drinking in front of your kids, there's a time where it's appropriate and there's a time when it's not appropriate. On holidays, okay, I understand. But there's always that conversation we have with the kids, like, hey, listen, we're older, we're just celebratory, but we don't do this consistently. So I think to parents out there, I would say, invest in your kids.
Model the behavior.
All the behavior, invest in your kids, take the time, even though, we're all tired, we're all worn out at the end of the day, we're destroyed from our, a lot of us are professionals, a lot of us are high pressure careers that we all have them. But if you don't take the time to do it with your kids now, somebody else will. And they'll learn those bad habits from someone else. And then you'll wonder, where did they pick this up? Sometimes we get a few phone calls here and there from the kids, like misbehaving on the bus. And I take that seriously, because if I don't nip that in the bud right now, it's going to just manifest and continue. And God forbid, could get something worse. I always tell them to protect yourself. I was like, and protect what you say. Think about what you say. Give yourself I think that Mel Robbins was saying that one time. Give yourself a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 count.
5 second rule.
5 second rule before you think about what you say. And even as adults, we should, when someone is interacting or speaking to us, we should think before we speak, And that's another message that we give to, clients. If they come to see a respective provider, be respectful of their time. Be respectful of your time. Prepare yourself. Prepare your questions. Don't be rude. If you want to move forward with the treatment plan, with the protocol, by all means, let's work together. If you don't, it's fine. It's not for everyone. But don't be rude. Don't be say, oh, this is expensive, that's expensive. It's not for you. Something that's not for you may be for someone else. I always say this, and I think, when we first started this, remember when we went to Tony Robbins, UPW? I would say it's November or October of 2024. I just felt some kind of crazy energy in that room of like, oh, wow, I know. And Tony Robbins was constantly talking about value, give value, provide value, and everything else will fall into place. Leave with more than what you came in with, And I wish that people saw that other side of how much we give, how much we provide value. We don't ask for any, the WhatsApp group is free. So many people charge WhatsApp groups, memberships, and all this stuff. Like I've seen some of the groups, and for nothing, for no value at all. It's like, hey, if you want to advertise, hey, here's the dollar amount, And I wish people knew the behind the scenes of.
I get told that all the time. Why don't you charge for your WhatsApp group? And I just say I really want to just help people.
It's what it is. It's information. It's value. But at the end of the day, I tell people also, I say, listen, we are a niche luxury service that may not be for everyone, and that's okay. It's a free market enterprise. You could go search other places, but you will not get the detailed attention to care. You will be person number 10 in a waiting room lobby, someone coughing and hacking, and who else knows what kind of germs come in there. This is what people don't understand, and this is why, when you kind of not reinventing the wheel, but being a disruptor in the marketplace. This is what you go through. This is the trials and tribulations that you go through. So
sure. I feel it.
I know you feel it, and I know there's a lot of I think we give strength to each other, and we get strength from a lot of our different colleagues.
How do you feel working together with them?
I think in some way we've always worked together from day one. And I think we've been on this journey for 12 years now. I think we've always done certain things together as a unit, And I like that because I didn't come from that background growing up, in my a bit of a tough childhood I had. So I like the unit where I love working with people who get shit done. I like getting things done, and sometimes I know you get at me. So maybe like chief operating officer, I go too hard, but I know what we can do. I know what levels we can reach, and yeah, there are times where that we need to get it done. And even the conversation we had before that, I was like, hey, listen, this is what we're doing. This is the structure. And this is what should be conveyed, like a message, and the message is for who are we talking to right now? We're talking to parents. We're talking to people. We're talking to individuals that want to change their life, but may not know how to, we haven't been on this path for the past couple of months. We've been on this, we started this journey 12 years ago. This is not an overnight success story as some people may paint it in their ways. We started this 12 years ago, and any of our friends, family members that see this or look at this like, oh wow, I didn't realize it, they may not know. But we always grind behind the scenes. We always lifetime learners, readers are leaders. Always in a book, always in a different podcast, always learning, always fine-tuning a skill set, fine-tuning communication. I think communication is big in what we do, but it's missing in the overall dynamics of healthcare.
Definitely.
I have a primary care physician that doesn't check up on me, doesn't know it. I have to reach out to him. If he's there, if he knows I'm there, I'm there. I'm not. You have become for all intents and purposes, my primary care physician. Because if something's going on with me, I consult with you, and you'll recommend something to me, and I was like, okay, I'm good. And likewise, you have become the primary healthcare physician. Like I'm doing quotations, not for other people. A lot of people in your family, your sisters, your mother, your father, my family, you know, and they don't even know it, right? They don't even know it, and they'll come to you first, you know, and then they'll go to the doctor, and the doctor might not say the same thing, but it's like, okay, you know what? I trust the opinion of you because you've helped me so many ways. And another thing I would say, times have changed. You want access. People want access. Like right now, we have access to a beautiful podcast studio. And this is another thing I tell people. It's like, when you're working with us in a wellness space, you have access to us. You have access to over 12 years of combined knowledge, research, and whatever the case is, if we're not able to help you, we will direct you to the right way to help you. You know, if you reach out to us. I think our response rate is very, very high, like in the 99%, you know, because we have a team of people responding to people in real time. Not a week later, not a secretary, not a, hey, let me check your insurance. Well, no, we respond. And people don't understand, we're not charging you anything for response. There are some doctors that will say, you know, we had this conversation with our social media manager on the way here. She's like, you know, Jack, I went to Frida and she helped me with certain things. I was like, oh, good. So I was like, you know, can you do a testimonial for us? She's like, yeah, no problem. She's like, I've never seen a service and response rate like you. I even went out of my way to deliver the stuff to her. Like, I went to deliver it to her because you told me she wasn't feeling well. I was going to that neighborhood for, I think I was going to Forest Hills. I think she's in Flushing. I was like, oh, it's on my way. What does it cost me to deliver this amazing service of like that day, if I can, if I'm available, you know? Like, I don't have this like pride of like, oh my God, I'm a doctor of physical therapy. I'm going to go deliver something to a client that needs help. There's so many practitioners that have this like ego-driven personality.
That ego-driven.
Yeah, like, oh, I went to school X amount of years, and I was like, do you know? It's like people, if they see our catalog, a Rolodex of people that we've helped, the charts of people that we help behind the scenes, at like 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, in the morning, you know, and I call them personally. If we need to ship something to someone, I'm like, hey, the UPS is telling me they have the wrong address. Is it the correct address? Like, oh my God, thank you for calling me so much. Thank you for calling me. Thank you for checking up on me. We have this, I'm not going to say her name, this lady who lives in Regal Park, 72 years old. Another lady, 75. She's like, oh, thank you for calling to check up on me. My own kids don't check up on me. Her own kids don't check up on her. You know? But I keep it in my mind that she's 75, she lives alone, she's a sweetheart. She's, you know, and I go out of my way I was like, do you need something? Do you need some help? Do you want me to connect you with some kind of maybe delivery service for food? I know someone in the community, in the shul. She's like, no, I'm fine. And we don't live anywhere near her, right? It's like a half an hour drive. But I'll check up on her, you know, and I'll keep it in my notes. So I can check up on X, Y, and Z, like in 2 weeks. Like, I like to give everyone a 2-week type of feta. And it's like, hey, everything all right? Everything good? So this is something that does not come across to our clients. Because realistically, what do they think? Okay, I'm going to have this appointment with Dr. Frida on Tuesday at 10 o'clock, and I'm going to see if she's able to help me or not. And do some of them come in with like I don't know, I'm not on the calls. Do some of them come in like in a snarky attitude or like
no, never.
No?
No, they're usually really, really happy to speak to me. I think it's just really for most people, I think everybody that I've spoken to thus far would love to work with me. I think for a lot of people, it's just the cost. They're so used to traditional medicine.
Insurance-based type of thing.
The Western medicine where everything is insurance-based, everything's covered by insurance, and where they don't have to pay any out-of-pocket costs that for them it seems scary. It could be anywhere from $60 to $150 to $1,000, right? It doesn't matter the amount. For some people, even, you know, $200 is not.
There's no judgment here, but I'm
not easy to pay. Some people, you know, as we know, they have their expenses, and they live paycheck to paycheck, and it gets very scary for them to drop this on something that they don't know will help or not. There's a lot of skepticism around natural medicine, as I've said before, and they just don't know, will this help me? I'm paying money for it. Will it help me? At least, when I go to my medical doctor, I don't know 100% will it help me, but I'm not paying for it out of pocket.
No, you kind of always like dancing around this similar topic. But working with you has been, so far so good. We get into it. I encourage any man listening to this or male, if you're able to work with your spouse, you should definitely set boundaries. You should definitely. I like to do it in a way. I was like, hey, listen, 9 to 5 or whatever it is, the standard working hours. We're doing this. We're going hard. We're working on the future, working on the brand. But there's always a time for date night. There's always a time for, there's a funny story with the guy that we go shoot with rough photos. Take out your wife once a month. No, take out your wife once a week away with the kids.
Once or twice a week.
Yeah. It's June. I didn't know this. I recently learned this before I came in here, that it's Men's Health Month, June.
Men's Wellness Month.
Men's Wellness Month. And the Father's Day is coming up. So.
Should we do a promotion? What do you think? Chief Operating Officer.
Listen, we always, in our WhatsApp groups, we're actually on our 3rd WhatsApp group because there's so much interest. There's so much.
Fortunately, we're capped on WhatsApp.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I like the reason we are on WhatsApp a lot is because it was some people don't like change. Even
try Telegram.
Even online, we have an open Telegram group, but people like the communication on WhatsApp. Some people come in and out. And sometimes I was like, oh, why did you come out of the group? And people say, oh, listen, there's too many messages. I don't have too much space. I don't have this. I'll reach out to you when I can. And it's interesting that, if you're not tuned in, if you're not locked in, then you forget about it. You forget about it. If you're not locked into what you're doing, and I understand people are doing different things, but if you're not locked into health and wellness daily, then you forget about it. It's so easy to get disconnected in modern day because we have so many things pulling attention. Our kids, our career, and we're always chasing something. Like right now we're in a unique opportunity to sit down for an hour plus to speak about our certain things that we're doing and broadcast it to the public. That's a unique type of opportunity that a lot of people will see that it took 12 years to get here. It's not an overnight thing, Would we have said this, or even a couple of years ago, or years before? So, whoever's listening out there, I want to say that whatever you're doing, the grind you're on, don't stop. Jeff Bezos said this famous quote, I'll never forget, that you could be doing something for 5 years, it's not working, and that 6th year, it just takes off. Everything takes off. So I think that's a very valuable piece of information. A lot of different important people out there.
Yeah, a lot of what you said is very true and very valuable. I think that it really should, for those of you that do watch this, it should really broaden your view about natural medicine and medicine in general, just what is important and what's not, and to really focus on health, because we always forget, we run after money, we run after certain things, but health is really the ultimate wealth. If somebody is sick in the family, everybody forgets about everything. There's no interest in working. There's no interest in doing nothing. And health becomes the ultimate goal again. So while you are healthy, if something is minor, take care of it. Health is your wealth. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your family members. Remember that, you can always make more money. You can't buy your health sometimes. So take care of it while you can. And we would love to hear from you. Anything you need, we're here for you. Thank you, Jack, for joining me on this amazing podcast. I had a great time speaking with you.
Anytime.
Thank you.
Yes, I want to say thank you for putting up with all my ideas. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night. Sometimes I always fire off ideas, and you're like, yes, no. My brain is constantly operating on different things. And I want to say that, this is necessary, this conversation, whether it's about wellness, whether it's about marriage, whether it's about helping each other out, and, sprinkling a little bit of the way you raise your kids. All of this is necessary. Your faith, what you believe in, and I just want to, tell everyone that it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to, and it's okay to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid of what people might say. People will talk about you whether you're doing good or whether you're doing amazing. And you never know how that conversation is going to go. So it's amazing to be here with you, and I think I'm going to be with you for the rest of the day also. But thanks for everyone listening.